Does that challenge, that specific challenge of post-Christian culture, does that excite you?
100%. Oh, yeah.
What about it?
The objections they have to the faith, the things they don't like about the faith, are no different than the objections that every human being has ever had when they're in rebellion to God. There's nothing particularly unique or special about them. And I think that in a post-Christian culture, you're dealing with a lot of ideas that actually predate Christ, or you're dealing with ideas that are very much around the time of Christ in Roman culture. And so I think it's exciting because I think there's room there for explosion of the gospel. What they need to hear is there. It's just a matter of getting them to hear. And I think that's exciting, just to step back into ground that's that hard and try to plant seeds.
I think a lot of times when we think of missions, we think of
international,
of going to some jungle where the gospel hasn't reached, and that's certainly part of that.
Like Jim Elliot kind of thing.
Yeah. But also realizing, well, there's people in your own city, in Atlanta, that are unreached with the gospel.
Like all Christians should be on mission, and that might mean at work, but I think we would like, for our work to be missional. Yeah. And so Jeremy had gotten us connected to a church in Boston called Redeemer Fellowship, and we had gone up there two weekends ago. Yeah. Right now, it doesn't seem to be it's like the opportunity is definitely there.
Yeah.
I think I always assumed that I would go back overseas. My last job before this one, I was living in West Africa. And then coming back to the United States after having expected to stay in Africa was pretty disappointing, pretty hard. I kind of put all my eggs in that basket. Maybe I'm supposed to come back to the United States and stay in the United States forever, which is probably not what I wanted, but if that's what God's going to ask of me, that's what I need to do, and I need to follow it through in that manner. Getting a chance to go back overseas on the Paris trip sort of reignited the passion, and to realize that maybe God wasn't saying you're never going to go back overseas. He was just saying not right now.
It's been really hard being back and thinking that that's what we were going to do and being disappointed and frustrated and even just seeing the, depravity or the problems with our own heart, recognizing that the cost is great to sometimes go off in a sense, but the treasure is it just is so much more worth valuing and treasuring Christ and doing what he calls us to do.
Paris opened my eyes to the idea that I could live someplace that is physically not a trying place to live. I mean, I think all in our heads when we think about missionaries, we're you're going to go to the middle of nowhere and you're going to live in a village. And that's sort of it people's a kind of cultural idea. And I've actually spent a lot of time doing that. And I think being in Paris, talking to the missionaries there, and they were discussing sort of how hard it is. They were it's very easy to adjust to the culture. The ministry has been brutally difficult. And to me, that opened up I just never thought of moving someplace difficult in that sense.
Probably our next step is to look at where can we go and be further trained to be sent out. Mm-hmm. Something what if we went up to Southern and pursued this at a faster pace?
So being more long-term, but maybe taking a different path than Boston would have taken us.
Trying to discern, is this in fact God saying I want you to do this, or is he or am I just painting this picture for myself? The idea of doing this as part of a church body, that I'm not really disconnecting, that I'm really just going as an extension of this church is very, very important, and that the church would pray that would be the relationship that takes place as I'm sent.
So just that our church would be a place where people are sent out to proclaim the gospel, and that collectively as a group, when we leave on Sunday, that we're going out to proclaim the gospel. We are looking to be a church that's planting other healthy churches and sending people out for that purpose.